Hello.
Hi, I'm Quinn,
I'm Eric.
and this is our post
Homebirth.
video.
Yeah, we got baby Makoa here.
Yeah, he's knocked out asleep.
Mm-hmm.
He's officially 2 weeks
Today.
old today, and we are filming on Thanksgiving. I am extremely tired, so there may be parts where I'm like, my brain is all over the place and I'm blacking out, but life of a newborn. Okay, so we're just going to get right into the story. So, basically, I had a successful VBAC, which I'm so proud of. I was also GBS positive, and our baby was...
He was ROT, his positioning in the belly, right occipital transverse.
And if you could just explain that a little bit more in detail?
It just means where the way he was situated in the uterus, he had to do this kind of little final spin past his shoulders on the way down into the birth canal. Whereas the other two sons were both stuck in a posterior position, which made for a very difficult labor, although I wouldn't say this one was easy. At least little man didn't get stuck this time.
Yeah, it was actually, with the other two, because they were posterior, when you have a posterior labor or posterior birth, it's actually more painful because also you can have back labor because they're kind of like on your sacrum. So it was just a pain. But now let's get into the little guy's birth story. So I started having, okay, so I would say a week before my labor, my mucus plug came out. Now I was super excited about that, but I also knew that it doesn't automatically mean that birth is imminent right after the mucus plug falls out, because my mucus plug fell out with my oldest son, who's 3, and he was born the very next day. My mucus plug fell out with my second son, who's 2, and I didn't have him until 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So, can you give us a timeline again?
Yeah, I think it came out at first like a week, but we knew it wasn't all of it. It was just a piece of it. So it came out about a week before the actual birth happened, and then 2 days before the birth, we saw another big clump of mucus plug, and then our first real set of non-Braxton Hicks contractions, like real time. Hey, this is maybe labor right now. So we started doing some timing of the contractions to see if we're headed towards active labor.
And I think he means like on the 8th, right?
On the 8th,
yeah,
the 8th of November, 2 days before he was born, which was November 10th. Yeah.
So basically, we were timing the contractions, but let's back up there. So I had I think it was 40-week appointment with my midwife at the hospital. Now, even though we had a midwife that we paid for, I was still going to my OB appointments because the midwife that was at the hospital that I go to, she delivered my oldest son, and I really liked her a lot, so we were still going to the appointment. So when we went to the appointment, my she was just, palpating the belly to see where baby was, where he was positioned. And I was going to get a vaginal exam to see like how, the face size was, if I was dilated. But before she could do any of that, literally, it was like a gush of fluid on the little pads they have. And she was like, oh, well, did you pee a little bit? I was like, no. She said, well, did you go to the bathroom before I came in? I was like, yeah, literally like maybe 5 minutes before you came in. So then she was just like,
water broke.
Did you feel anything? I'm like, no. She's like, well, I think your water just broke. I'm like, what? So, because to be honest, I was freaking out the whole time. I was like, oh my goodness, like, I don't want to go to 42 weeks. I'm so scared if I go to 42 because I know that they're going to try to like push me for a C-section. Because she already said, even if you weren't at VBAC, that because I have Kaiser, they don't let you go to 42 weeks. It's like 41, and that's the cutoff. And they were already kind of trying to push me,
put you on the schedule to be on the cesarean.
To schedule a C-section, but I was just like, no. So basically, I was like freaking out. But once she said my water broke, and she tested, like had a little strip and it tested blue, which means it's positive for amniotic fluid. She said, okay, go straight up to labor and delivery. And I was like, oh, and we were just like looking at each other because we're
trying to come up with an excuse, because we know if you go check into labor and delivery, they don't want you to leave.
Because she told us that too, like, yeah, they're not going to let you leave, I was like, okay, well, maybe they can just see how dilated I am. She was like, no, yeah, you're going to have to stay. And I was like, ooh.
So we're like, oh, I haven't eaten yet, and we need to go get our hospital bag. So we ended up leaving the hospital because we were planning on having a home birth. We had no intention of having this baby in the hospital. Mama had tried with our first one, and it didn't work out because it got stuck posterior. The second one he was just a very large baby. He was 10, 12, so there was some, and ended up being cesarean. There was some hiccups with that. She's been working hard and dreaming about and learning about natural mama stuff. And
so basically,
I'm a little worried, sorry.
So basically, we left and we went home. So, but as we were driving home, I called my midwife, and I was like, "Ooh, she's gonna be like a little annoyed that I went to my Kaiser appointment." So I was just like, "Hey, my water broke." She was like, "Okay, we'll test it, see if it's in amniotic fluid. I left your home birth bag at your house. Just test it." I'm like, "Okay." We already knew it was because the OB tested it. So she was okay. Labor's about to start. I was like, "Well, I want to go to Home Depot and grab a plant." And she was like, "No, go home and get some rest." We went to Home Depot and grabbed that plant anyway. So then we get to Home Depot, and then I get home, and it was like, labor didn't really start for me, to be honest. It was just like little contractions on and off. Now, I was also very worried because I do know that because I was GBS positive, they like to get you, usually like traditional hospitals like to get you on antibiotics right away because, the risk that the baby can get infected or whatever. So I was like, oh God, it's like, now I'm on the clock. Now it's a countdown. So I'm just like, okay, labor has to start. Labor did not start. Contractions were very slow, bare minimum, right?
Yeah, well, there was a time where they kind of sped up and we were thinking labor, but then they ended up slowing down. And so we knew it wasn't active labor at that point, and our midwife's recommendation was that you just rest.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, labor is not starting. So I think the very next day she was just like, okay, we're going to do, because I think she was more patient than I was. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, what should we do now? Because I was afraid that we would have to get transferred to Kaiser or the hospital, and they would be like pissed off, like, okay, you left the hospital, and now it's X amount of hours, and you're putting your baby at risk. So I didn't want to go through that. So I'm just like, let's just try to get him out and like hurry up. So basically, we did like a castor oil milkshake. So it was just like castor oil, ice cream, orange concentrate, 2 ounces of vodka, and that was pretty much it. I took it. I started having little contractions afterwards, but it was nothing major and it was nothing super consistent. So I was like, it's not working. And she was like, oh, give it time. And I'm like, I don't have time. So I'm just like, okay, well, what else should we do? And she was like, okay, we'll try it again in another couple of hours. So I think about like 4 to 6 hours, we tried it again. And then the contractions really started picking up. So I was like, I'm really hungry. So we went to go grab some Thai food. Then we went out for a walk. And that day is when it really, really started. So we went out for a walk. We went out. It was just like me and him. And it was just really nice because we was like talking and connecting. And we really don't have that time because we have 2 little ones. But it was really sweet. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and that was the day before labor. And this is now the 9th of November. And we had another serious set of contractions.
Yeah, we thought, we're like, okay, we're in labor. So like my sister was here, my mom was here, my sister took the kids early in the morning. And I'm just like, okay, we're good. The contractions are really picking up. So I called them. So he calls my midwife, and she comes over because I think we were almost at 511, right?
Yeah.
We were almost at 511.
We were approaching what they call, I think it's 411 active labor.
So she comes over, and I'm like, hi, and she's like, yeah, I don't think you're in that. I don't think you're really in labor. She's like, yeah, you're smiling, you look happy. And literally, here's the funny part. I was in labor it was like
all night. It was like
all night. It was like from 6. No, I think it was from 6. I can't remember, but it was from like, I think from either 9 or 6, or all the way until like 5
in the morning. Yeah,
that's what it was. It was from 9 to 5, and as soon as she came over, the contraction stopped. I mean, I wasn't having not one contraction. I was like, she was like, well, what? She's like, are you still having them? I'm like, no, I don't know what happened. That were so consistent, and it was just like they just went away. I was having no more contractions. It was the weirdest thing ever.
So this is now 2 days in a row where contractions had sped up. We thought labor was coming on and really about to happen, and then they stopped both times. So you got a little bit more rest.
Yeah.
Finished the Thai food, and now we're kind of getting a little bit of anxiety because we're up against the clock. Really, it's almost been 48 hours since we were at Kaiser. Had the confirmation that the water broke. and they're like calling up both of our phones.
Mind you, Kaiser is calling us.
Yeah.
Like
Where are you?
the OB that we had, because she was so sweet and we were really invested in her, and I think she was a little bit emotionally invested in us as well. Was calling us. And if anybody has Kaiser out there, you know they don't really care about shit like that. Like they don't care enough to really call. But in this situation, they were calling and I was freaking out, like, oh my god, they calling us. She
called me. Phone. I didn't know they had my phone number.
I didn't know they had your phone number either. So
nonetheless, we ignored them because we still hadn't had the baby.
But at this time, things are moving along, so we're thinking, okay, labor is about to start. So make a long story short, then that night from 6 o'clock. So then the very next day, from 6 p.m. all the way until 9:55, because I had him at like 9:57. But so at 6, I'm like, okay, I think this is the real thing. You know, the contractions are kicking up, and mind you, I'll insert some clips of the birth or whatever as well. But I have like these affirmations all around, and I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, oh, you know, is this going to be a really long labor? I'm thinking everybody was like, oh, it's going to be so fast. It's your third baby. It's going to pop right out. Mind you, this is like, I think the best I've ever felt in any of my pregnancies. The best I've ever eaten in any of my pregnancies. I mean, I still gained a lot of weight, but I think like this is the best I've ever done. Yep. So I'm thinking with the exercising, the chiropractic appointments, the eating, baby's going to pop right on out. It did not happen that way.
It was long labor for sure. So
labor began at, I began having contraction surges, waves, whatever you want to call them, waves, at 6 p.m. So at 6 p.m. they started. My sister came early in the morning around like 6, like 5 or 6, and came and got the boys. So she came and got the boys. They left, and I'm laboring all night, right? So it gets to a point to where I tell him. So I was like, listen, I don't think I can do this anymore. And he's like, you got this.
You got this. We weren't about to give up because she'd worked too hard. It was too close.
I was about to give up. I was ready.
She was, well, 3 days on it's hard to rest when you're having contractions. I mean, I don't know personally, but just watching her in pain and stuff, I can't imagine she was getting really restful sleep. But, you know, we'd worked too hard for this. We're surrounded by her mom, by me, by nothing but love and affirmations.
So at this point, I'm having the contractions all night. And in my mind, I'm not really bothered by it. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then it gets to a point where things change, where it's just not like...
The pace picks up.
The pace picks up. But I always had a rest. So the good thing was I always had a rest in between. And in those rests, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm doing good. But now I'm falling I'm kind of falling asleep in between the waves and the surges. And I'm just like, and the funny part was in my dreams, even though I'm sleeping, I'm still experiencing the pain because I'm dreaming of the pain that I'm having in my dreams, which is
kind
really
of like
funny.
Lucid almost.
Yeah. So now it's like, so, you know, the midwife comes over, she checks me. She's like, okay, you're about 5 to 6 centimeters. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's great. Because before my previous, when I was in labor previously, it was like, oh, I wasn't progressing fast enough, or it took me a long time to progress and stuff like that. But in this time, it was like I progressed to 5 to 6. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's a good number. So she's like, okay, we're basically there, because we were sending her pictures also. And another way I knew I was progressing was because every time I went to the bathroom, more mucus plug was coming out, and it was actually tinged in blood. So I knew that, okay, my body's working, something's working, and the contraction and the waves were actually more intense. I wouldn't say painful, because pain, like, I wouldn't use the word pain, but I would say it was more pressure and it was more intense. Now, I watched a lot of videos where they would say, sit on the toilet, it helps, you know, it helps the contractions, or, you know, it makes the contractions, what did they say, more, like I forgot the word they were using, but it actually it helps them somehow.
It's like a natural position to open your hips so that the baby can kind of smooth down.
Yeah. So every time I sat on the toilet, literally I would have like a lot of mucus plug that would come out, and the waves were super, super intense. And I kind of hated sitting on the toilet, but a part of me was like, you gotta go sit on the toilet, because you know this is gonna help labor move along. These are actually helping your contractions get you to where you need to go.
I think that was part of the benefit was, you know, the previous time we was at the hospital, and there was an epidural. We're really able to move. It's nice to be in your own space where she can, if she needs to go to the bathroom, go to her own bathroom.
Yeah.
If she wants to walk around in the house, wants to go grab a snack from the kitchen. Or
yeah, I was able to move a lot.
Being in your own space.
For majority of the time, it was a lot of me sitting. Can you hold on, man?
Yeah.
Back is hurting. For a majority of the time, it was a lot of me laying on the bed, laying on my side. I had to lay on the side with pillows pop up on my legs because my midwife could tell that the baby was still on his right. So we had to really kind of, position him to get to the left. So when I was laying down, I was actually on my left side. So I would either be laying down or I would be sitting on the toilet. And sometimes I would be hovering over my bed, moving my hips from side to side or whatever, because that also helped with the pressure. So that was that. So now I'm thinking, okay, he's reading off the affirmations to me, and he's trying to be of help, and he's trying to massage me or give me light gentle touch, and I'm like, don't touch me, I don't want you touching me. But I do remember that I watched her video, and I think she's from the UK, but I really wish I knew her name. I'll insert her name in here somewhere. But she was saying that she used a TENS unit. I was like, and I've heard about TENS units. So I got a TENS unit. I had him put it on my back. But the funny thing was, when he would turn the pressure up on the TENS unit, the baby would start moving. So if the pressure was too high, the baby didn't like it. So, which was the funny part, because it was actually helping me, but I would feel the baby moving and wiggling a lot. And then there became a part in my labor where I was laying down, and the pressure was so intense in my back. Now I understand what people say when they say they have back labor, and I guess this was him on my right, just kind of rotating over on my sacrum. So this is him twisting, but now he's on my back, and it was so painful. So it's when I wasn't having a contraction, there was the back pain. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, I'm ready. Let's cut it. I'm done. So I told him, I said, listen, I'm ready to go to the hospital. I'm done. He's like, no, babe, you're doing it. I'm like, I said, so I got the midwife. I said, hey, because her name was Melanie. I said, Mel, I appreciate all you've done for me, but I need to go to the hospital. She's like, no, Quinn, you're doing a good job. I'm like, where's my mom? So I happened to see my mom walking past. I'm like, Mom, come here. I'm like, Mom, I'm ready to go to the hospital. So, but no one was like, okay, Quinn, I'll take you to the hospital. Everybody was like, look, she's doing good. She,
Well, we wasn't trying to torture her. I know she was in pain, but she was exhausted more than anything. But we could tell there was progress being made, because every single time he was doing big pushes, we seen more blood, we seen more.
But I wasn't pushing it. I wasn't pushing at that point yet.
I mean, contractions.
But
serious contractions was happening.
So
there was progress. It was visible progress.
So basically, it just came to a point where no one was sending me to the hospital, and I was just like, okay, it is what it is. I gotta man up. But one thing he said to me, and I don't remember, because I was asking him where did we hear this from? I don't remember. But he kept saying to me, you can do anything for 60 seconds. You can do anything for 60 seconds. And I kept thinking that literally, I had so many different affirmations. That's what really got me through. All the other ones where I was talking about having my angels with me and having the universe with me, things I thought that were really going to get me through. That is what really got me through, is saying that, hey, you can do anything for 60 seconds. Because I was just like, okay, it's not going to last that long. It's only going to be for 60 seconds. And then I remember...
and every wave is moving you closer to baby.
And then he kept saying every wave is moving you closer to baby. Which still, the only thing I really heard was the 60. I can do anything for 60 seconds. So then after that, I remember I asked him for combs, because I saw this other girl's YouTube where she was saying the pressure from she was using combs because something about the pain sensors, it feels the pressure from the combs first before it feels the pressure with then the contractions. I don't know, something of the other. But let me tell you, it worked for me. So when because it was before the wave / surge / contraction came on, you would feel this, I could feel this pressure, this tightening with my uterus. And right when that tightening would happen, then the surge would happen afterwards. So when I would feel that tightening, I would grip the combs, and it worked. It literally worked for me, I would say, for a majority of the whole night, until I was about to push. Then it kind of stopped working for me. But for a while, it did work. And So once I realized that no one was going to rescue me and take me to the hospital, I was just like, okay, you know, I can do this. So then it got to the point where I was like, because they kept having me drink like these this like little packet that was supposed to like help you with like electrolytes. Yeah. So you just like put in your water, but like usually I don't drink that kind of stuff. But he kept giving it to me, and I didn't want to be rude and just be like, hey, like I don't want to drink this. So I kept drinking it.
It was the midwife suggesting, not me. I know she hates that stuff, but she needed electrolytes because she was so tired. And
I didn't really eat anything, but that night I did have the Thai food, but like. Yeah. So, but I did ask for like little stuff like watermelon or something like that. So anywho, so now I'm just like, now it's in the morning, the sun is appearing, and I'm like, oh God, this is awful. How much longer do I have of this? In my mind, it really wasn't awful, but like in my mind, just, you know, feeling constant pressure, and I'm just like, when is he coming? When is he coming? When is he coming? And in my mind, I'm thinking, he's not coming. He's not, even though I knew he was, I just kept thinking he wasn't. So when he was giving me the electrolytes, I ended up vomiting a couple of times. I was like, I need a bowl. So he brought me a bowl, and I just like vomited a couple of times in the bowl. When I look at it now, I was in transition. Once I asked to go to the hospital, I was in transition.
Too late.
But no one, like my midwife didn't say, Quinn, you're in transition. Like in that moment, I was thinking, when I started throwing up, I was like, am I in transition? I was thinking about that. But like, I think if my midwife would have like maybe checked me, or told me, I think you're in transition, I think I would have had like more strength. But not strength, but I would have been mentally stronger, because honestly I have a high pain tolerance, so I don't think it was just the fact that like, oh, it hurts too bad. It wasn't that. It was just like, all right, he coming or not? Like he coming or not? Like what's taking so long? So basically, it got to a point to where I was throwing up, and she was like, okay, this is great, you know, things are progressing. And somehow, I don't even know when, and he'll have to fill in the blanks for me, my midwife, when I say she left. She went to go get something to eat, I think you said, right?
She went on a little break, and she told me to, the contractions had slowed down a little bit. I was timing all the contractions, and there was a little bit of a slowdown. Okay. So she went to go get a little bit to eat, and she told me to text her when things sped back up. And now Quinn was having vomiting, and we're about 8 a.m. at this time. And now it's been like an hour and a half, 2 hours since she's been gone. I'm like, okay, she didn't just get a bite to eat, because there's food across the street from
literally
where we live.
A huge plaza.
I got her to come back finally, and pretty much right when she showed up, it was 9 o'clock, and it was go time. Like baby was coming.
Oh, let's backtrack. Baby was coming before she came back. So at this point, I literally so I started vomiting, and then after a while I was like, okay, this is really getting intense. I need to sit back on the toilet to, you know, make the contractions be actually productive. That's the word I've been looking for this whole time. They say if you sit on the toilet, it actually helps your contractions be productive. So I'm sitting in the toilet, and then literally my mom comes in, and I'm just like urinating or whatever. So I stand up, and she's like, and so as I'm standing up, here comes the surge, right? And then my body starts pushing. Like literally, it literally felt like I was taking a poop. You know, it felt like I was taking a poop, and I was just like, So I'm having the surge, but I'm like pushing at the same time. I was like, so my mom was like, "Are you pushing?" I was like, yeah. I was like,
you weren't trying to, but you are. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm pushing. And she's like, okay. She's like, Eric, come on, we're about to have the baby. So they bring me into the room, and they get the chucks and stuff on the floor. Because mind you, we have the in our living room, we have the pool that's already set up. He's already like, I think like trying to get the hose and stuff off at this point. But in my mind, I'm not worried about no pool. Because I can't go nowhere, because my body is trying to push this baby out right here, right now. So then I think that's when he like calls her like, hey, she's pushing. So she comes, so she ended up getting there. I don't know how long it took for her to come, but in the midst of that, I'm like bared over on my bed, like my butt facing towards the wall, my face facing towards the bed, and I'm like pushing. That's what my body was doing. So she comes right on time, gets everything, her gloves on, get everything on, and she's just like, okay. Next, she's like, only push when you feel the urge to push. And I'm like, okay. Now this is the part where we're gonna be inserting a lot of clips so you guys can kind of like see what was going on. So I'm like, okay. So she's like, push. So I'm pushing as the surges are coming, because it just feels like what I'm supposed to do with it. Feels like I'm literally just felt like I was taking a big crap, you know. It literally it's just literally what it felt like.
The cutest little crap ever was.
Yeah, he is the cutest. so I'm like pushing and pushing, and then I just remember in my mind, and honestly, I've seen so many people say that pushing was not the hard part. It gave them the ultimate relief, and I will have to say I totally agree. Pushing was the easy part. Pushing actually gave me the most relief. Pushing did not hurt. There was no pain associated with pushing at all. So I'm looking on the floor and I'm seeing like a lot of like mucus coming out, and then the more and more I'm pushing, I can see like there's mucus, now there's blood, and then eventually when I'm pushing, the my water broke. Yeah. My water had like fully broke. Like we knew it, like I guess it was trickled before, but this time it actually like popped. Like you see a big pop in the video that we're gonna show you. And then the mucus, then the water breaks. So now he's holding me up because I'm trying to sit in different positions, and my mom is like, oh well, let's try to get her to the pool. I'm like, I'm not, in my mind I'm trying to be nice, so I'm like, I'm not going to nobody's pool. I'm sitting right here. She's like, okay, well let's try to get her to the couch. I'm like, no, let's try to get her to the bed. I'm like, I don't want to get so they're right here. But I think my midwife knew that I didn't want to go anywhere though, because she's like, okay, well let's just kind of try here. So then literally I just kept like, so Eric was holding up my arms and I was just like squatting, and then my mom was on my side and my midwife Mel was like on the bottom.
Yeah. And she had the baby heart rate monitor, making sure baby wasn't distressed or anything like that.
Yeah, so waiting to catch the baby.
We knew his heart rate was still in a good range.
Yeah, so she was like monitoring the baby's heart rate. Okay, give me 1 second.
There's a crying sound coming in.
So in my mind, I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tear. But I was like, he has to come out. So then I just kept pushing, and literally I pushed, his head popped out, and then after his head popped out, I would say maybe like what, a minute or two later, a couple minutes later.
He was out, and there was one final kind of exclamatory, Quinn, you have to push right now.
Yeah, my midwife was like, Quinn,
encouraging yell.
Quinn, look at me. You have to push.
Come on, Quinn. You gotta push him out now.
He's right there.
Quinn, look at me. Now. Push.
Push. Let's go, baby. Good job, baby.
Come on.
Keep going. Keep going. I got you.
Come on. Push, Quinn.
Push. You go low.
Push,
I got
push.
you.
Push. Push hard. Come on, Quinn. Push. More. Here we are. Push. He's out. He's out.
There he is, Mommy. You did it. He did it, Mommy.
Good boy.
Right now, yeah. I'm thinking something's wrong with him. I'm like, oh my god. So I'm like pushing for dear life. When I started pushing for dear life, I started throwing up. It was like The Exorcist. Like I started vomiting all over the place.
All over the
but
midwife.
like,
right underneath.
Yeah, but I was
he came right after that.
But the thing is, like, he came right after that,
and she caught him.
My midwife did catch him. And you know how they say like, oh, you'll feel like the ring of fire. Like, it's this girl called Legacy, and she teaches you about like having a natural unassisted home birth, which I would never do, which I mean, to each his own. But she talks about the ring of pleasure. Call it the ring of pleasure. And I've been saying that this whole pregnancy. Literally, it didn't feel like pleasure, but it did not feel like anything. I would say the most pain I felt was when his feet came out.
Yeah, it kicked you a little bit.
That hurt. But so yeah, pretty much that is our labor and delivery story. So he came out,
and then it was right in your arms. Right after that, it was so beautiful. You know, you go right to the nipple and hold your baby immediately right after he came out. And,
yeah. And
I was just so overjoyed. I said, I knew you could do it, baby. I knew you could do it. Here he was.
Yeah, everyone was crying. Everyone was upset.
And he was healthy.
I wasn't crying. I was just more so in like disbelief than anything. But you know, overall, it was just a great experience, and we can't wait to answer more questions.
Beautiful baby.
We missed it, Eric. Did we miss it? Oh no, we got it.
Okay, one thing I forgot to say in the video, and I'm coming to you almost 2 years later, I forgot to say that what really helped me through was, I forgot her name. I'm gonna try to find her video. Post her name in the video. But when she was saying, when you do, oh, that literally helped me so much. When I say it helped me in the beginning of my contractions or my surges, it really, really helped. It was something about saying, because a lot of times I was just like walking through it. Like we were walking outside, and then when I just was tired, I didn't want to walk anymore. I would just sit there and lay in the bed. I go It helps so much. I know you would think that something so simple would like not help, but it did. So that's one last piece I forgot to mention. If you guys have any questions about my birth story, please feel free to put them in the comments. I will do my diligence to answer every single person that comments on this birth video. I am so happy and excited to actually be one of the women to share with you guys and contribute to the natural birthing mamas out there. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you guys. Happy birthing!